Hello, my name is Kyubo Shim, and I'm here to introduce about how to ignite your inspiration for the April framework. Let's begin. To begin, I want to introduce myself. My name is Kyubo Shim. And, you know, MBTI is very popular in Korea, so I just want to introduce my MBTI. ENTP and INTP, I'm just both. I think T means I think it's pretty logical, and P is like lazy. Pretty rational and logical, but pretty lazy. So that's why I'm using ChatGPT a lot. But I'm really struggling about decoding ChatGPT's code. So like compare not using ChatGPT's code, like it's like a coding is like 3 hours and debugging 5 hours. But while using ChatGPT, coding is like 5 minutes. But by debugging it's like 10 hours. So actual time decreased. So okay. I'm also iOS developer and a security developer. I just finished my Apple Developer Academy first online. Also, I finished Keytree, best of as known as best of the best, and also test online. My two represented lab is Man-to-Man and Moodle. It's like one is like one translator, currently localized in English well. Also, Moodle is like a song for the Korean baseball, and also we're currently using 2,000 users. So please download. So it's a good app. It's also my two representatives. To begin, I just want to introduce how I get into this subject called Igniting the Inspiration in Apple Framework. Like, when I listen to the seminar or like go listen to the speaking, some speaking is like too hard for me to understand as a new developer, and some speaking is like too easy to understand. So I want to just take the balance of the subject, and for the attendees you spend time to come here, I don't want you to just spend time for like listening. So what I think is as a junior developer, to be easy to understand the subject, and as a senior iOS developer, I just want to make sure the idea is to solve the more complicated problems. Also, for the non-iOS developers, other platform developers, I just want to give you the opportunities to give it a shot of the iOS developing. So, first things first, how to define the Apple framework is unique. So, is it just like you can't just use it in the Android or other platform, or is it just like it has to be strong in the Apple ecosystem? What do you guys think? What is the unique Apple framework defines? Okay, what I define the unique Apple framework is to use these three things: the hardware, software, and ecosystem. Apple has a pretty good hardware, and many people use Macs. And software, why I'm using iPhone is because of software. Because compared to the Androids or other smartphones, iPhone can't really make it slow, and I can be used like 5 to 6 years. So I think this is really useful for software. Also, the Apple's ecosystem is pretty powerful, I think. Like iPad, iPhone, Apple Watch, when you use both three, you can just send photos or data to the airdrops. I think this is also the ecosystem is really powerful. So what I define the powerful Apple framework is have to use these three combined things. So what do you guys think is the Apple framework is? What is to using these three things? What do you guys think is the unique Apple framework?
ARKit.
ARKit, yeah. Why? Do you have any reason?
Partially because I saw your example, but partially because it does kind of encapsulate all the three things that you mentioned. You need the hardware, the camera, and the sensors. You need a fast software, and you do need the ecosystem. So it just feels that. Yeah.
I'll introduce the AR at the next slide, but it's like a sneak peek. Another one? Anyone? Yeah.
I think the Apple documentation is very precise because they have both hardware and software.
The Apple documents. Is it easy to read or like just?
English will be what I can read it.
Okay. I think Apple documentation is pretty good compared to other documents, I think. But first things first, I want to introduce about SwiftUI. Like SwiftUI, but some people think, oh, it's just a tool for the views. They agree that's like it's also declarative programming. Like we have a Jetpack compose, blah blah blah. True, I agree. I definitely agree. But what I think the powerful thing about SwiftUI is like one code for one. You can just program in one code, and you can run in iPadOS, iOS, tvOS, watchOS, everywhere. I think this is really powerful compared to the other platforms, Android or something other platforms. So to introduce, like, it is single code based. I'm just reading. It enables the cross-platform app developments, and also the powerful thing about SwiftUI is you can just test how Vue works, and you can code simultaneously. So it's like you can do seamless test and can easily test their codes on any Apple OS. And also it integrates the ecosystem, like I said. You can run the iPadOS, tvOS, watchOS, and iOS in the Apple ecosystem. And also, I want to say the SwiftUI is also declarative programming. So what is declarative programming is like, some people know, some people don't know. So I want to easily just explain this. It's like, for example, when you're hungry, and you want your ass to mom to boil ramen. If you want your parents, your moms to boil ramen, in case of like an imperative program, oh mom, could you please boil ramen? No. You have to say, oh mom, could you please cut the ramen's paper, and boil the water, put the soup, put the ramen, turn on the gas on, wait for 3 minutes, and just wait the ramen for like 1 or 2 times, and then give it to me. This is like, yuck. Like, this is also more good tool for the more detailed programming. But compared to that, I would just want to say my mom, hey, I'm hungry, I just want my ramen. So I think this is not just like correct metaphor, but I think this is how to explain declarative programming really easy. So like you can just easily use the code simplicity, concise readable code of layout and business logic. And also including the declarative programming. I think the powerful thing about SwiftUI is like binding variables. It enables automatic UI updates by one binding variables. And in response to the app state changes, it simplifies the development. So this is the super easy example and super easy level. When you try to, this is the easy example of the UI kit and SwiftUI. And when you call code in UI kit, hey, I want UI level, it gets this hello world, and the color is red, and engine view. In case of SwiftUI, hey, I want hello world, and color is red. That's it. So I think this is the powerful part of the SwiftUI, declarative programming, and also you can run code in all or other operating systems. And I want to example about a simple SwiftUI code. This is like Clement said, it's a simple example using ChatGPT and SwiftUI. I just called this in the last week hackathon. It's like a job interview sparring. You just put the resume and the job interview question in the SwiftUI app and send the query to ChatGPT, and the ChatGPT sends you the what's it called? Make the question, follow the question. Yeah. So this is a super example. So you can just submit. Submit. Takes a while. We have 4 questions, so I'll just skip it. So this is the 4th question. When you submit the answers to the resume interview, and then this is like ChatGPT gives us the questions like, what is after your graduation, what do you do? This is like amazing, and this program is really powerful because it runs in iPad and also runs in iOS. So if you want to prepare your job interview in the cafe or other place, you can just take your iPad and just open it in the cafe and you just prepare. And also, if you want to use it at the home, you can just open your Mac in a quiet place and just wear your headphones and prepare. So I think this is the powerful thing I used by using SwiftUI. Okay, so back to the point, like I said, we have the powerful, unique Apple's framework has to use these three things: hardware, software, ecosystem. And the SwiftUI, I think, is the powerful. I use the SwiftUI most focused on the software and ecosystem, but not use the powerful thing of the hardware. So what is the powerful framework using the hardware? It's like you have to use the Apple CPU. So like, you know, Apple's M1 chip is pretty awesome. It's like no fans running, pretty fast for the coding. Also, I think the Apple's A series chip is also pretty good compared to the other CPUs. And I want to include one more thing, is that Apple's iPhone is also wider sensor. Now, most of you guys said things like what I'm going to say next is I want to speak about the AR. So AR is like Clement said, it's really good and powerful thing that Apple's framework we can use as an iOS developer. And we can do pretty lot of things. So like we can just do world tracking. We provide some world tracking for the accurate positioning and also plane detection. We can detect the plane and detect the horizontal and vertical surfaces. Also, by using the Apple's TrueDepth camera, you can just face tracking. For example, when you're using the Apple Message apps, you can, in case of the emoji, you can detect the face if you're smiling or if you're angry. That's based on the TrueDepth camera. And also, object anchoring, ARKit recognize the anchor virtual objects. So, yeah, this is too hard to understand. Let me just show you the example of the real lightning. This is the app I made at the Apple Developer Academy at the final Macro Challenge. It's like a simple guest book. So we have an Apple Developer Academy, and also added on the database with the whole doing also. So this is just AR. Let me show you the AR. Oh, there we go. The footprints. You can show the footprints, and this is all the guest book. So this is all dummy data. You can put it on. And you can put the footprints. They're like cute. Put the bear footprint. So you can press this one. Yeah, this is no Unity, no any graphic design, just Swift, no anything. So this is a small demo for me. Yeah, this is how we use the AR. I use this AR as an ARKit and SceneKit, nothing special. And also, lastly, I want to introduce about the Eclipse. I just don't know why people don't use this Eclipse in Korea, but this is like pretty awesome for me when I first see this on the WWDC. For me, I'm just making my apps as like side projects for like toy projects, but as a big company we're running, this is like a huge way of marketing and how to appeal our apps to the users that, hey, your apps are really good, why don't you just try it? So for those who doesn't heard about Eclipse or never heard about Eclipse, I really want to show easily that Eclipse is like it's called shishikono. When you go to a bakery or when you go to the restaurant, okay, let's say when you go to the bakery and you can smell the smell of the bread, the delicious taste of the jam. And the lady at the bakery just puts a crust of bread and put it in a basket. Hey, why don't you give it a shot? If it's tasty, you can just buy it. So this is like the best way to appeal that how our app is really good and how it's easiest ways to approach to the user. And AppClip is also really lightweight, so it can specific and limited set of features instead of full functionality of the app. So like, if your app have the Apple Pay and your app is really huge, and the user only wants the Apple Pay, and you can just make it an app. Also, because it's immediate and lightweight, you can automatically reuse like 2 or 3 days, I guess. Since the user have the template, it is automatically removed. And like I said, this is the wonderful way to app marketing and user acquisition. You can attract the user. Hey, if our app is really good, you don't have to download it. You can just put it in an app and you can just try it. So I think this is a really good way to appeal our apps to the user in the best way. Oh, and I just want to share how AppClick works. This is like a small demo for me. For those who are together, I just want to show the code, how easy the AppClick works. So this is like an AppClick test for the main. This is like a clicked app for the AppClick. So there's like a content view, and there's a main view using. Also in the AppClick app, there's a content view, the main view. So you can just, like this, if AppClick, do this. If else, do this. So like, when you run this app, so this is a kind of, we run the clicked app. So as a clicked app, the clicked app, the text is on the app. And when you change the app test, bam, so this is not hard work. You can just make your apps really cool by using this app. I think this is a wonderful way for the marketing your app for the user. Yeah, this is all for me today. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you very much.
All right, any questions related to that talk? Yep.
Thank you. Since you talked about SwiftUI and declarative programming, I have a question. I think we all agree that SwiftUI or declarative programming is the future of how we configure views, but I'm not really experienced with SwiftUI and only convenient in UIKit. So I want to know, like, what are the disadvantages or like, hardships that you have when you only program with declarative programming or SwiftUI?
Still has a lot of bugs.
Oh, just bugs.
Bugs and not many libraries and not many reference still compared to UIKit. And I think if you want to make the detailed animation, like at the Figma, your designers show the detailed animation, and I want our apps to work like this animation. SwiftUI, I think it's pretty hard. And also, in case of ARKit or AppKit, it doesn't support SwiftUI, so you have to import the UIKit into the SwiftUI. So still, there's a lot of work to do, but I guarantee this is the future of the Apple development.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Have you experienced FreeVM pattern, a design, one of the design patterns
Yes.
in SwiftUI, and how was it? I want to ask.
How was it?
It's kind of, was it hard because I thought it was kind of different from traditional design patterns, such as MVC or other design patterns.
So you're asking, is it like hard or like I just don't understand the questions.
So was it difficult to use FreeVM pattern?
Oh no, it's not difficult. You just separate your codes into like view model. This is also similar to like this. It all interacts together, like view model, and the model. View watches the model, and also view model watches the model, and also view watches the view model, view model watches the view. And yeah, it's like not that hard. How about like when you go to my Meetup, and you can see my man-to-man's code when you visit my GitHub. It's not that good, but that's also designed by MVVM, so you can just see how it works.
On top of that, I think for people using UIKit, the pattern that Apple was recommending was a really good job. but MVC, I see some smiles because they know. But I believe that I'm also, like, I started with UIKit and I still prefer UIKit to SwiftUI, to be honest, even though I made some apps in SwiftUI. But based on the documentation related to SwiftUI, I feel that Apple is also pushing for MVVM using for SwiftUI. So can you tell us about that? Like, do you think that because for UIKit application, MVC was when we saw every example from Apple, it was using MVC, but can you confirm that Apple is pushing for MVVM concerning SwiftUI application, or there's still, when you download their example or when you check their videos, is it still using MVC or they are pushing for MVVM?
So what I understand is you're saying that is it Apple pushing the MVVM, and you want me to explain why?
No, I just want to, because I'm a big UI king guy, and I just want to know, because if you are very into SwiftUI, do you just confirm what I'm saying, that it's also, that also Apple is recommending using MVVM for SwiftUI rather than MVC?
I think that's a really good question, but what I think is, for me, it depends on it. It depends on the app you want to make. It depends on the design and models patterns how you design. So there's no answer, I think. Like I said, if you think the UI kit is better than SwiftUI in some part, then you can use it. But still, yeah, SwiftUI is not a way to go. But compared to MVC and MVVM, I think they both has. I don't use MVC well a lot, so I don't know a lot about MVC. But in case of MVVM, still I don't find any disadvantages for me, right?
Yeah, the thing is, when you wanted to use MVVM with UIKit, you had to use like Arc Swift or Reactive Swift, but with UIKit, SwiftUI, it seems that Apple, they push combine, they push different like tools like observable object, I think, that now makes it way easier to
That's right. Yeah.
directly implement MVVM. And I think they put the tooling for us to, they might have realized that MVC was not that good, and with all the bindings, it might not make sense for SwiftUI by design, so they are maybe pushing more for MVVM. That's just my 2 cents on that, because I'm not very proficient with SwiftUI, but yeah, that was just if you wanted to confirm or add on that. Any questions related to? Yeah.
What do you think would be a good use case here in Korea for app clips? Like, do you think people would actually use it if you, let's say you made an ordering app, and when you go to a restaurant, you could just scan the app clip and it would immediately show up the basically like a mini app. You could order and just pay with Apple Pay, all on the same device, easy.
What I think is that still easy. Let me show you the example. I'm really inconvenienced when I go to the Baskin Robbins, and I'm really a point. I really like to save my points, but to save my points, I really have to open the app, and it has an ads. I have to push the button. I'm not going to show it in 2 weeks. And after that, I have to find the points and the buttons. I have to click on it. Click it. I have to push my passwords. And I have to open it. But when you use an app clips, you can just turn on the camera. You don't have to log in. You just put the camera on and just set that clips. Man, point is open. Also, I want to share is that. Yeah, I think this is the basic example how to use app clips in Korea for the big companies. like me, for the toy project users, not really, I guess.
So basically, we need to get one of the big companies.
Yeah,
to-
so if you have a lot of functions in the app, you can just clip it, the function, and just show the users. That's the powerful thing of the app.
I guess that's my cue.
Okay, anyone else?
Did you do any benchmark on the performance of SwiftUI? Because right now, most of the old apps, they're still using Objective-C. Many like framework, like Instagram, Facebook, also the SDK. And is it easy to integrate them? Or do you still need to do bridge like in UIKit?
I agree that integrating the legacy code and UIKit into the SwiftUI is a pretty complicated job. I definitely agree. But if you want to start a new project or test the new function, test the new project, you need to make the app fast and test how the users respond. In that case, I think SwiftUI is the best way. For the future, SwiftUI will be the legacy. Yes.
Anyone? Abhishek? Yep.
I think this is a rather controversial topic on whether you really need MVVM in Swift while using SwiftUI. Other languages like React, Flutter, or Vue.js, they don't really use MVVM, and Apple never used the term MVVM in the first place. So MVVM is really useful when we use imperative programming instead of declarative programming. But SwiftUI itself has the view of the SwiftUI has its own binding functions and binding properties. So I just want to hear people's opinions about, do we really need MVVM for SwiftUI? And if not, why? Or if yes, why?
To be honest, I started learning SwiftUI using MVVM at my first time. So I don't actually think about why do I have to use MVVM? Why do I have to use not using MVC? So I think it's really hard for me to answer the question about it because I just do that. I just learned it from starting with MVVM. So I just want to ask you guys, is there any answers for these questions?
Hello, I'm Haley. I have experience to use SwiftUI for my app for a company. So I think as a view in SwiftUI, view is a structure. So and then they suggest the feature that in the structure, we can declare the class as view model as a class. The view, the class should be inherited observable object maybe. So as with that view model in the structure, we can declare the view model as an observable object. Observable object. Anyway, so and then we can subscribe that view model. So that's why maybe so Apple recommend use MVVM in SwiftUI, I think.
Because of the observable object.
Yes.
And using the view model.
Yeah, and as he said before, maybe they in the binding and subscription and other mechanism, because of that, they suggest MVVM. But a little bit different from other structure, other languages. For example, I use Flutter on Dart now. But Dart also has those mechanisms observing or something like that. But the way to declare the view model is a little bit different. Because in SwiftUI, in the view structure, we can declare the class as a view model. but in Dart, it's separate.
I think it's kind of a bad practice to use MVVM because it's really complicated to test, to write unit tests. You need to instantiate all the model. So we choose to use the clean architecture from Kyubo, and it's much more easier to, because every object to just one thing. So you don't need a view model who's connected to the model and the view. Like just if you use another pattern like the clean architecture, you can just, each file is independent to the others. You don't need to construct them. You don't need to pass. There's no dependency when you construct them. So I think it's much more easier to create unit tests. So we don't use MVM when we make one in my company.
Anyone on that? That's good.
I would say if you have, so we definitely use MVVM. We call it MVS because we don't call a view model in SwiftUI because it's just too similar to a view. We call it a store, so it's model view store. And why we use it is exactly so we can test. Because all the view models, you inject your dependencies in, and all dependencies are generic. So you just need to, you can create a mock dependency that conforms to a given protocol. So you can easily create mocks, you can easily create tests. You can test individually from a view, just a specific function on that view model, and you also get this separation between your data layer and your view layer, meaning that your views are just views and your data are just data, which is quite a very different opinion. But I guess, as we've heard, both approaches work. So in the end, it just matters what you need. Yeah, that's it.
Anyone? No? So on my end, what I think is, I didn't want to say that first, but then I would say, MVVM at first was created to solve the massive view controller problem. I said it. So that's why I think the goal of MVVM was to fix that problem. After didn't add more, like other problems, maybe. And I think the idea of MVVM was to fix that problem. And I think this is why it's not also, MVVM is not the key. There's so many other things like Viper, like now it's very popular. You have the Swift composable architecture. And to answer the question, the first initial question, I think the idea is same as if you use React, why use Redux? It's the same problem. If it works so well, then why people invented, like created Redux and why many people are using it? So I think for SwiftUI, it's the same idea. It's decoupling as much as possible, having small pieces as much as possible, very easy to test. I think this is what MVVM wanted to solve in the first place. I don't think it worked out that much. But then after, you have people that really love having single source of truth in their app. So this is why they use Redux, this is why they use ARKit for the Swift composable architecture. So yeah, I think as Clement said, it's more like what's your problem, and you have different tools to solve your problem. There is no silver bullet, and the key answer for every programming question is it depends. So that's my 2 cents on that. Anyone else on that topic? No? Okay, so thank you very much.